Welcome to this presentation. Once upon a time, of course, in years gone by, it seems like a lifetime ago, either I or the Master would have appeared, hopefully, at one of your school assemblies and come along and chatted with the children and asked questions and had lots of toing and froing, which was great fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Oh, and Anne's busy. Then, of course, I would do the old-fashioned thing of presenting a cheque, and I'd even ask the children what a cheque was. And I mean, most of the time, they seemed to get all these things right and got very excited about glass and the kit and the projects and all that sort of thing. But of course, sadly, although I think actually this is proving to be a benefit of COVID from our point of view, we're able to include rather more people now, because these Zoom presentations have been a complete revelation from the charities side. It's taken us a little while to catch up because, of course, inevitably everybody has been so busy, and of course, goodness knows the challenges that you have been facing at your school and every other school across the United Kingdom one way or another. Thank you for the time that you're giving us today. But of course, what it's allowed us to do is also have some very nice feedback from all of the people that gain the funding from the Glaston Society Initiative. And it allows us, I think, to get a lot more information about you, your school, your children, what you want to do, what you are doing, the aspirations you have for the future, and so on. So, as I say, I think it's provided us with a rather unexpected dividend. And hopefully, once you have got all of the kit and the money has been transferred to you and all of that sort of thing, then you'll have time to make another report, I suppose, and show us what you've been doing and the fun that the children have been having, and hopefully you have too. So that's really what I would normally say at this point, and I would welcome a little bit more information. Headmaster, we're very grateful that you're here today. Thank you. I'm sure you've got a million other things to do, but it's good that we see the people that we're working with, and more importantly, they understand what we are about, because I always like to say, and I'm sure the Master will comment on it, we hope that this is the beginning of a relationship, not just merely a one-off. So over to you, and perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your school, please.
So we've prepared PowerPoint presentation, which hopefully will give you a good idea of which is kind of what we aimed. Obviously, knowing we can't come in to school, what we aimed with the PowerPoint presentation was to kind of share ourselves in a way that you still get to know us well. So I'm going to try and share screen.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay, yeah. So this is just a map to let you know where we are. We're Paxton Primary School, and we are just on the map just here. We're very near to Crystal Palace. We're lucky to be situated in an area of South London. There's quite a lot of green space around us, which is fantastic. And so you can see from down here, we are just, well, not just, a little bit further south of the river. And yes, so that's our location where we are. Being in London, we're quite fortunate, I think, to have access to quite a lot of places. We haven't been able to access them recently because of COVID, but hopefully, if things open up, we'll be able to make better use of our surrounding area again. This is our building. So we have the school was established. The building was built in 1887, but we've gone through quite a few changes. We're currently on our third building, through no fault of our own. So this is the initial sort of Victorian building from 1887, and it was typical Victorian school with separate girls and separate boys. But amazingly, I think there were only 8 classrooms in that massive building. So it wasn't designed with a lot of space, there wasn't a communal space. So it was agreed with the borough that it would be knocked down and a more communal type school would be built. So in 1973, we had this building here, which was sort of kind of prefab, typical 70s kind of school prefab building, single story, courtyard in the middle, and a hall in the middle, and then classrooms around the outside. And it was a lovely building, and it was a really lovely communal space. But for quite a long time, we were oversubscribed as a primary school, so we had far more applications than we could house children. And also there was a growing number of children in Lambeth at the time, so Lambeth approached the school and asked them to expand from single form entry to 3 form entry. So we then went on to our 3rd building. So there's a little picture down here of our old building as it was being demolished. And then above you can see the pictures of our wonderful sparkling new building, which is a very exciting space. And a lot bigger, as it has room for 3 forms of entry. So a lot bigger. We're still growing into it. We're not currently 3 form entry in all of our year groups. In year 6 we still single form, and in year 5 we have 2 forms of entry. So we're still growing into it, but we're making good use of the space. So thank you, Lambeth. And we are, Paxton Primary School is part of the Gypsy Hill Federation. So in 2010, following an Ofsted inspection in which the school was put to required improvements, they asked a couple of local primary schools who were already working together, Kingswood and Elmwood School, who are up here, to sort of take on Paxton, to join forces with Paxton to support with raising standards in Paxton. And we all worked together really well, and it was a really good allegiance, and worked really well. It was really positive for the school. So in 2010 it became a formal federation of 3 schools, and since then it has grown to 6 schools, which are all sort of in South London, 5 of them in Lambeth and 1 of them in Southwark. And we work really closely together with the schools. We have 2 executive head teachers who oversee all of the schools, and there are weekly meetings between the head teachers all joining forces together to think strategically and plan strategically for the future of the school, and work together. And we have our 3 core values which are reflected across all the schools, which are inclusive, include everyone, visionary, think big, and collaborative, work together, which we do very well as a federation. We do very well effectively within our individual schools as well. So thinking about our school community, so we're a very inclusive school. The Gypsy Hill Federation has always been a very inclusive federation, and by inclusive we mean including everyone. Everyone has the right to the best possible education, and those who need additional support get the additional support they need to ensure that they can access the same level of education as all the other children. We value and celebrate our local ties, and we look to build strong partnerships with all members of our school and local community. We have had difficulty in the last year with COVID, with working in the ways that we were previously working, which has been a challenge to us, and it's been a challenge to the parents as well. We've had quite a lot of feedback from parents. They find it quite difficult to not have that kind of knowledge so much of what's been going on in school. So our challenge is to try and operate in the current climate, as much as possible, communicating with parents and including parents. And as soon as we were able to open up and work with parents the way we were able to previously before COVID. So some of the ways that we were working with parents was that every Friday morning we had parents interreading across the whole school. So all parents came into school in the morning along with their children, and the first half an hour of the Friday morning was all parents reading in school with their children in their classrooms, to promote reading and to promote parents reading at home. And also to help us build those relationships effectively by getting to see them on a regular basis in school. And then Friday morning reading was always followed with some tea and biscuits in the hall for parents, to help them with supporting and networking and supporting each other as well. We had half learning where each class will set up a sort of exhibition of their work, so parents had a chance to come and see what the learning that was happening in classes in school. We had regular workshops and forums, so if we were identifying that there were any particular issues in school that we wanted to kind of work with parents to kind of improve, or we felt that there was a kind of a demand from parents or request from parents for further information or further support with any particular aspects, we had those workshops, those forums to support working with parents, because schools work best when they work with parents as well. And we had our termly parents evenings as well. So fingers crossed, we'll be able to get back to working in the way that we typically would want to work with our parents as soon as possible. We have a very active sort of parent-teacher association, or sort of P2. They're called Friends of Paxton, and they are fantastic. They're a fantastic team of parents who work tirelessly to support the school, to promote the school, to support our local community. And there's a couple of examples here of sort of projects they've undertaken sort of during this year. So around Christmas time, they wanted to ensure that Christmas was a positive time for everyone in our local community, particularly given kind of the events over the last year. There were some families who for whom COVID had a massive financial impact. So they wanted to make sure that Christmas was an enjoyable period for everyone. So they worked together to fundraise and then put together and distribute Christmas hampers to some of our families and some of the families in the local community. And one of the other projects they undertook as well was to provide us with rainy day playtime equipment for our children during playtimes and lunchtimes. Being stuck indoors during your break time wasn't much fun for the children, but they provided us with fantastic boxes of toys and games for each class, which the children have hugely enjoyed since. So that's just a kind of couple of ideas of a couple of things that they sort of do to sort of support our community and support our school, and we're very, very lucky to have them. And just some information about our children. Sorry, I should feel free to ask any questions at any point. I've just talked, sorry. So just some contextual information about our children in our community. Our largest ethnic group is White British, which makes up 31% of the children. And our next largest groups are Black Caribbean, which make up 13% of our school community, and Black African, which make up 12% of our school community. We have a broad range of languages spoken by the children. 36% of our children speak another language in addition to English, and 24% of our children are not fluent in English, which can present a challenge. So going back to what I said in terms of we're a very inclusive school, so our EAL provision, our provision for children with English as additional language is fantastic. And our staff work really hard to ensure that all those children are accessing the education as well. 13% of our children are entitled to free school meals, which is broadly in line with the national average. And 10% of our children have been identified as having additional needs and needing additional support, which is broadly in line with the national average. But we do have a high number of children in our school with education healthcare plans, where they've been identified with children who have a high level of need and have specific education plans to support them with making progress, educationally and personally and socially as well. So we do have a large number of children who require additional support. Our core offer, and a little bit about what happens in terms of the teaching and learning in our school. We have an integrated curriculum, which means we don't have separate literacy or English and history and geography. We work from an integrated curriculum where the writing comes from the foundation subjects. So there'll be a particular topic, and children really like, for example, Shakespeare, Misha, do you want to talk through some of the work you did around Shakespeare with year 6?
Yeah, so we did, we based Shakespeare around drama and performing arts, and we used that as a stimulus for them to then produce pieces of writing based on different parts of Macbeth. And we also used art as well as a way for them to understand key quotes in Macbeth. One key quote in particular was along the lines of inside acting like a snake and on the outside showing like you're a beautiful flower, so giving the impression that you're quite sly. And so we created a piece of art on card which allowed us to show on the outside you're a flower, on the inside that you're a snake, to really let the children understand what it truly meant. And the performing arts part of it also really supported them in understanding the text, because obviously Shakespeare can be quite tricky, and they were able to produce really good pieces of writing, particularly as obviously lockdown has happened and they had only returned for a term or say before, and they were able to use that as a really good stimulus. So the integrated curriculum often works really well. Also we learned a lot about the historical aspects and the language used, and why Shakespeare is still taught and learnt about in the current curriculum as well, bringing in history, art and spoken language and drama as well, which works really well for such a tricky topic.
So the integrated curriculum allows kind of depth of learning by making links and using other topics or other subjects to help you understand. So for each different, the children have 6 topics across the year, and for each different topic they'll have a new one each half term, and for each different topic there's a different subject driver. So for that one it was art and creative arts and drama. But for quite a few of our topics, science is the driver for those topics. So there are a lot of the kind of the learnings around the science topic for that half term. So we have the integrated curriculum to support with kind of depth of learning and contextual learning. We use quite a lot of research-based approaches for our maths and for our reading, which are developed by experts or by other boroughs, which we buy into. And they provide a really solid approach to teaching and learning. We have an emphasis on play-based learning for our children in UIFS and in Year 1, and we're lucky to have a specialist music team across our federation who provide specialist music lessons for the classes, and we also have a lot of, I can never say this word, peripatetic teachers teaching individual and group music lessons as well.
Just quickly butt in and ask what destination reader is.
Oh. So I can talk about destination reader for hours. I love destination reader. Nisha's laughing because she knows it's the truth. Destination reader is a particular approach to teaching reading in Key Stage 2 from years 3 to 6, which was developed by Hackney Borough or Hackney Learning Trust. Prior to them developing that, we used to do something called guided reading, which has never been hugely effective at teaching reading nationally. It was an approach nationally and not hugely effective. So Hackney Learning Trust developed Destination Reader, which is a whole class teaching and then individual and group reading approach to the teaching of reading, which is a specific approach. Which is much more powerful than the kind of the prior guided reading approach, and is hugely successful, and it's very much based around quality texts, and a lot of reading to and reading with children. There's really deep, really high quality texts like Shakespeare.
And unpicking vocabulary.
So it really works, does it?
Yes. It's really great. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So in terms of thinking about our school and our school performance, there's a breakdown on the side here of our Ofsted judgments. So as I said earlier, before we joined the federation, we were the school was found to be an inadequate school or required improvement school, and because of that, then Lambeth asked the other 2 schools to join forces to support, and from then it's gone from strength to strength, and our current judgment is outstanding. We are overdue. That was from April 2013. We are overdue, and also we are quite a different school when we got that judgment, because at that point we were single form entry, and we've now moved to 3 form entry, and with a different building and a lot of different staff. And so we're overdue our inspection. So we'll let you know how it goes, but fingers crossed. And our school performance in terms of with the kind of the measuring of the stats at the end of Key Stage 1 and at the end of Key Stage 2, and the EYFS profile as well. We are often, it's tricky to see, sorry, but the general picture is that we are often broadly in line with, if not slightly above, Lambeth, and often broadly in line with kind of the national results as well. But it does vary slightly depending on sort of the number of children and our cohort, but we're generally broadly in line with the results across Lambeth, or if not slightly above with the results across Lambeth, I think. Jeff, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think you've covered it really well. I think to contextualize it slightly, where we, for example, have at the top of the school 1 form of entry, and we're in the mid-20s in terms of children in that class, each one of those children is essentially worth to us 4%. And so, whereas if we have 3 forms of entry, each individual child, irrespective of their level of need or their current level of attainment, they're roughly worth just under well, around 3% to us. And so what it means is, where we have a child with in year 6 currently with multiple difficulties, or indeed a child that's joined us this year who joined us with no English at all, when you've got a really small cohort, that can have a really big impact on how the school does compared to schools that have maybe 3 forms of entry. So it's useful, but only useful when it's in context to actually understand it that way. One of the things that we found, particularly around Destination Reader, is you give us a cohort of 90 children, and Destination Reader is going to ensure really high levels of attainment in terms of percentages and impact and progress for the vast majority of those children. That's just in salute and support of your Destination Reader comments, Catherine.
Okay, so and then thinking about our current curriculum challenges and priorities, we've obviously gone through a couple of periods of school closure now. Like many schools, we were on the back foot during the first school closure, and we were doing our best to ensure that we were still providing the best possible education for children at home during the first school closure. During the second school closure, we provided a really fantastic provision for the learning, the feedback from the parents. It was really positive. They were really impressed. The feedback we had from parents who, or people who work, adults who worked in the school who had their children, were kind of sort of saying about how impressed they were with the provision here in terms of how much we were able to provide. We did live teaching, online lessons. We also managed to subscribe to sites which the children could access specific learning as well. So we found that our home learning in many ways was really effective. We also ensured that those children who didn't have access to devices at home, we had a register of those, and we provided devices to support those learning as well. But one of the main things that we found was that for some children, for those children who come from more disadvantaged backgrounds, actually those children didn't make as much progress during school closure. So we're now at the point where we'll return to school, where we've got a wider gap for those children that we need to make sure that we catch up and then keep up with them. And one of the things we also found with the home learning as well is that to a certain extent it's quite passive, because it's online learning, and it's not very active for the children. So in terms of that engagement, although teachers were working really hard, it's quite tricky to have that active engagement from home learning. And for some children who find learning harder, actually they need concrete experiences, they need concrete equipment, and that's what makes it real for them, and that's what deepens their understanding. And without that concrete equipment, without the kind of experiences, they didn't make as much progress. So one of the challenges we are facing now is trying to ensure that we are giving our children as many concrete experiences as possible, particularly in science. It's also about ensuring that we have enough equipment to support those children, because we have grown from single form to 3 forms of entry. And there was an expansion budget which was provided by the borough, which enabled us to build a fantastic building and equip a fantastic building in many ways. But we haven't quite had enough to spend on, in terms of, as we have been moving up the school with more forms of entry, ensuring that we have enough equipment. What we have, that's one of the some of the challenges we are facing. So what Nisha will share with you kind of in a moment is how we have how we would like to spend the donation to support with them tackling those challenges.
All right. And now we have a look at what the children have to say about all of this.
Can you tell me, what is science?
Science is something that's an experiment.
Luke, what do you think is science?
Science is where you make experiments and you catch flies and you put them in the experiment.
Alina, what's science?
Science is when you make solar systems and you make eyeballs.
Brilliant. What do you like about science, Lex?
I like about science, it's because you get to do everything activities and you get to catch something and then put it in the bottle and make a whole different solar system.
What do you like about science, Luke?
I like about science that I like catching flies and then putting them in big potions.
Amazing. What about you, Alina?
I like about science because there's a bottle that has water and then we put M&Ms and then it explodes.
That sounds like a great science experiment.
So, Ben, what do you think science is?
I think science is when people try and do experiments and they try to find out some new stuff, like they try to shock the world with something new.
Lovely, I like that. Shock the world with something new. Great. Do you think it's fun, or what makes it fun?
What makes it fun is sometimes you do different kinds of scientific stuff, like maybe sometimes explosions, or even, I don't know, maybe create something new.
What did you find fun about our lesson this morning or last night? Yesterday afternoon?
That we could find out what is hard and what can change shape and what you can do with stuff.
Nice one, yeah. And do you think science is important?
Yes, because you learn lots of new stuff, and you can know a thing about something new.
Okay, what is science?
Science is a thing that you learn more about the world, and you learn about things like gas and how do you do like your body and everything.
Lovely, good. Do you think science is fun?
Yes.
What makes it fun?
The experiments, and you learn more about life and how like water works and all those stuff.
What did you find fun about our lesson yesterday / this morning?
Learning about water, because you learned that water can go in all sorts of solid, liquid, and gas.
Nice, good girl. And do you think science is important?
Yes, it's very important.
Why?
Because that means if you don't know what science is, that means you won't know about the world, the helium in your body, and you really need it to learn more.
Nice. Tell me what science is.
Science is a thing where you learn about something you don't know. So, for example, so you don't think a bug is a thing, and then you would say you'd learn that that bug is real.
Do you think it's fun?
Yes.
What makes it fun?
That you learn how to make ice cream and food.
Okay. And do you think it's important? Do you think learning science is important?
If you don't learn, you won't get money.
How does it help you get money?
Because when you get older and you work and you don't know none of the answers, you won't get money. But if you know that, you'll get money.
So, what is science?
Science is when you do lots of like experiments and testing to like find out what the thing is.
Do you think science is important?
Yes, for like some situations, for like climate change, like if you want to test if water evaporates, you put some heat on the, like you heat up the water and then it evaporates, and that represents the water evaporating because of the sun and like all the greenhouse gases making the earth warm, so the water evaporates and the ice melts.
Lovely. And science helped you to learn that? Yeah? Oh, great. So you must think it's important. Do you think it's fun?
Yes. I love like doing experiments.
Is that your favourite thing about science, the experiments?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you learn in science this week?
We learnt about solids, liquid and gases, and the solid is something that's hard. You can like squish it, but it's not something that you can like, it's not like fluid.
Lovely. Great. What is science?
Science is sort of like experiments that you can do, and some can be fun. Well, most of them are fun. Science is like when you can work out what or predict what you think is going to happen.
Lovely. Do you think science is important?
I think science is important because scientists are working out stuff that's hard. Compared to us kids, we just get to do fun science.
Ah, good word there, Poppy. So do you think science is fun?
Yes.
What makes it fun?
I think the experiments make science fun.
And do you think the experiments help you to learn?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
So, tell me what you've been learning about in Year 5.
Recently we've been learning about solvents and solutes and how they mix together to create a solution.
And what did you use to help you understand that learning?
We used lots of materials such as sieves, nails, sugar, water and magnets.
And what did those resources help you to learn?
They taught us that mixing solvents and solutes to create a solution, and that there are ways, and that different things need different ways of separating them from a liquid such as water.
Can you explain what those keywords mean?
Solvent means the thing that you're dissolving something in. Solute is the thing that you are dissolving. Solution is what is the result of mixing a solute and a solvent.
Great. And do you enjoy science?
Yes.
Why do you enjoy science?
Interesting to learn new things about science.
So, what have you been learning about in Year 6 science?
We have been learning about electricity, of how it can flow through a full circuit and how quickly it can flow to create a full circuit with electricity.
Great. And how have the resources helped you to understand electricity?
That the wires, the bulb and the battery that they can easily continue the circuit because there's not much wires, so it can easily travel within the circuit. And from a diagram, I wouldn't really understand how bright the bulb will be or how quickly it can travel within a full circuit.
Great. And do you enjoy science?
I really enjoy science as I get to experiment and I get to find out my answers within the questions I question.
So tell me about what you've been learning about in science in Year 6.
We've been learning about how a battery can generate electricity into a bulb. And like if we add different things into it, how it works better and if it improves or if it dims.
Great. And how have the resources helped you to understand that?
The resources helped me to understand that because we've been able to experiment with different objects and adding different objects in so we can see if it gets lighter or dimmer.
Perfect. And what resources have you found have made the bulbs lighter or dimmer? What resources have you used?
We've used lots, like we've added in different resources well, we use wires and batteries and lamps, but we also use other materials like paper clips, wood, and like that. We just experiment to see if it can actually light up or not. And we found that copper, it actually helps it to light up, and it sometimes makes it brighter than it would normally, like this.
Great. And if I took one of the bulbs out of this circuit, what would happen to the brightness of the bulb?
It would actually get brighter because the distance that the energy has to travel is shorter, and there's only one bulb for the battery to generate to the lamp, so it's brighter.
And what about if we kept the circuit the same but added another battery? What would happen?
I think it might actually get brighter, but sometimes it might not work because it might be a bit too far for it to generate, but it would brighten up, I think.
Great. And do you enjoy science?
Yeah, loads.
So, what have you been learning about in Year 5 in science?
We've been learning about science with different materials that help us to know more and teach us to know more of things that we didn't know about science. And Mr. Taylor is very helpful to teach us and help us to know more things.
Great. And what have you been using in science to help you understand?
We've been using water, rice, spoons, sticks, and more stuff.
And how has that helped you to understand? What did you learn?
We learned how to use the object and how to create something special.
And what did you create?
With rice we dissolved it with water.
And did the rice dissolve?
No, not really.
Oh, did you find any materials that did dissolve?
Yeah, sugar. Sugar is help us to know that sugar can dissolve in water. If it's hot water, it can't dissolve, but if it's cold water, it can some of the sugar. And sugar also can dissolve in water quickly. Rice can dissolve in water, and rice can't dissolve in water.
Great. And what did you use to dissolve the ingredients?
We use water, and we use foil to put the sugar in the foil and put it in the water, and we use hot water and cold water so that we can know the difference from them.
Great. And did you use any sieves in your experiment?
Yes.
How did you use the sieve?
So basically what we do, we put the rice in the sieve and then make it like that, and then all the things that were there, except the sugar was not there.
And do you both enjoy science?
Yeah, I love science because it helps me more to know about nature and other things.
Good. And what about you? Do you enjoy science?
I enjoy science because it helps me learn and it's really fun.
Fantastic. Goodness me. Well, Headmaster, I hope you're proud of your school. I think you ought to be.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm a bit worried about the health of the fly population. Because some of your younger students seem to be very keen to experiment on them.
Well, and also the explosions, Master.
Yes,
I wasn't aware that was big in your area, but there we are.
I hope you're not breeding a cell of young terrorists learning how to make bombs.
Oh, steady.
No, I think that you could see that the parents had been in because there was a particularly large mummy who'd seemed to.
That's what I was thinking. Was his mummy with him all the time?
Well,
Dear, oh dear, it's getting worse. I do apologise for my colleagues from the Paxton team.
I do hope you enjoyed what we did with your recordings of the children talking.
It was brilliant. Yeah, I am so impressed, and jealous of your skills.
Definitely.
I have to say, it's not me. I have a colleague that edits all of our videos, and I got all your information yesterday, and I went, oh my goodness, how am I going to deal with this? And I threw it at him, and he sent it to me at 3:30 this morning. He just
bless him.
But it's on YouTube, and I will send you the link. I mean, we'll have the whole presentation on YouTube once we've edited it and tidied it up. But that specific recording is not on the public domain, and I'll send you the link for it so that you'll be able to sort of copy it, and then you can have it.
Brilliant, thank you.
Well, I mean, hopefully it will help you engage with the parents as well that you were talking about earlier, because I mean that's just, well, I mean I think if you're a parent of one of those children, I don't think you could do anything other than smile, could you?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, when I watched it this morning, I was absolutely infatuated with it. I thought it was brilliant. And then with what Damir's done with it, and put it together, I think it could be a very, very good, useful tool for you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very well turned out children as well. It's a pleasure to see them.
I take it uniforms are compulsory.
Yes.
No, I think that's a very good.
Better, isn't it?
Personally,
everybody's equal.
It's important. I grew up in school life having to wear a uniform as much as we brought to games. The one thing the children don't do today is that we had to wear caps.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't give Mr. Mohammed ideas.
and worse still, Paul, I'm sure you had the same at my school. If you didn't doff your cap to a master, a lady, or anybody that you recognised, then you could be in serious trouble.
Absolutely.
Wow.
A very different world. But
the hardest one of all was not being allowed. We were not allowed to eat in the streets.
Oh no,
at all. And that was the most difficult time of the year was the summer, when we all wanted to have ice cream and iced lollies. and that was not allowed to be eaten in the streets.
Wow.
No, it was
I
not
think that
allowed.
was pretty normal.
And if we got caught, it was detention.
Yes.
I got caught in the summer holidays playing cards with some friends, not for money, on Plymouth Hoe. And it was reported back to the school, and the headmaster, one brother Grice, decided to give me 6 of the best with his strap.
Oh,
Yeah.
Grief.
So that's not in school uniform. Nobody knew who we were, but nevertheless.
There's always a teacher around.
Those Christian brothers, I'm sure they had, well, probably drones watching us all the time, even though they weren't invented. God.
They had a higher authority watching you, I think, Tony.
Well, definitely.
I think one of the most important things that I know all of my colleagues will be intrigued to and very pleased that you have this federation that you belong to. There's that interaction with other schools, and also I feel with all the schools we presented to, I think you have probably got the most proactive relationship with your children's parents than any school that I think we've seen this year. Several of them do have very good PTAs, and they do sort of engage, but you seem to have a complete program where you engage with the parents and try and make it more of a family affair than just than dropping them off at the gate. One thing I would ask you though is, have you commanded a new sort of respect that they're now leaving them at the gates with such gratitude that they don't have to have them at home?
It depends.
It was there.
Yeah. We did. So yeah, but for the online learning, I think parents enjoyed having the opportunity to see teachers at work and to see children engaging in the lessons, and we had lots and lots of positive feedback. We do have parents who have very high expectations, so there was the odd complaints. One complaint about a grammar lesson they felt wasn't taught entirely as it should have been. But on the whole, I think it was more in terms of not complaining, but wanting to give us feedback to make our revision even better. They have very high expectations of us.
Wow.
And rightfully so. But yes, they were. I think they enjoyed the online provision because they enjoyed seeing, I guess, their children learning, seeing how the teachers are interacting with their children. And I think when the school gates opened, and Mr. Mohammed or Jeff will attest to this because he was on the school gate when it opened, there was a lot of smiles, a lot of really positive feeling when kind of the school gates opened after school closure, particularly in January when it was the online learning, parents got that window into school. And there was a lot of smiling faces, a lot of joy as they were dropping off their children. Not just joy at kind of having some time off from their children, but I think joy at kind of like that sort of having that relationship of seeing kind of that kind of window into teaching, a window into the school. Yeah.
So
It proves understanding, doesn't it?
I was going to comment on your very active engagement with parents and ask, are there any problems? I mean, parents can be a bit stroppy, can't they, sometimes?
I think, as I said, we certainly have parents who have high expectations and they want the best for their children, and they're not afraid to sort of let us know, which is a good thing. Mr. Mohammed, is there anything you want to sort of add into that, or?
Well, I think no. Thank you, Catherine. I think you're absolutely right. I think that what we're able to do as if in opening the school gate, we position ourselves so that no reasonable requirement by the parents or no reasonable critique by the parents is likely to in any way inconvenience us. They're giving us their treasure at the start of the day, and we don't have any business opening the school gate if we cannot meet and sustain a really high quality of provision for their children. So we take all feedback from the parents for what it is. It's people who are championing the learning opportunity and the life chances for their children. There are occasions where there are misunderstandings with a small m, You know, we're very much in partnership with the families, but there are sometimes legacy issues where if the parents had a particularly difficult relationship with institutions of learning when they were younger, then that can very often play itself out in the exchanges and conversations that the parents have with us initially. But as I say, you know, what I'm really honoured to be a part of is a team that are really dedicated to going that extra mile as individuals who are servants toward their community, highly professional and highly purposeful in the work that they do as an entire staff team. And that's from the ladies in the front office who get, you know, a grouchy parent on a rainy day, you know, who's had difficulty parking, coming on the phone to them, all the way through to, you know, our premises officer, who is a sensational force for good in our community, incredibly popular with the family because he's a person of service. And I think that from, you know, Nisha and all of the in-class teachers to the senior leadership team we've got, what Catherine hasn't mentioned is that she's actually a parent in one of our sister schools as well. She has to moderate between the two, you know, being really well behaved on site and then being incredibly well behaved when she goes to engage with her children's school. So, but
Yeah.
we've got. Go ahead, Catherine.
No, I was like, yeah, I don't become one of those parents. So my children are at Elmwood, so one of the Federation schools, which is just down the road. But I'm a good parent. I am a well-behaved parent outside the school gate. I hope I am. I try.
An out of 10.
And I think with us, one of the things that's important to us around, you know, what you just said, Catherine, about being a well-behaved parent. What's really important to us is not that our parents are compliant. We don't just want the parents to do what we say, nor that our children are compliant. We do not want children that just, you know, just do what you say because you said it and measure their success by what an adult says to them. We want a school community that is well behaved because they buy into the process. They buy into the, you know, that really delicate imagining, that really delicate confection that is school life. Because all it takes is for one or two people to sit on their hands and say no, and you see how fragile the exchange actually is. And we get amazing buy-in from our parents, we really do, and from our staff, and also from our local community. We're making far more noise than normal at the start of the school day because we've got a staggered start to the school day. So children are milling around on the pavements with their parents for far more of the morning and afternoon, waiting to come on site and leave site, and our local neighbours are very forgiving and very understanding.
Are you plagued with parents delivering their children by car? Too many of them.
Yeah, well, do you know what the funny thing about it is that to a large degree the parents police each other. You know, you're not going to get invited round to, you know, to another parent's barbecue if you're the person that's got exhaust fumes having their little pleasure coughing and spluttering outside the school gate. But at the same time there are challenges around that. I think, you know, with one hand you give, and it can feel like you're taking away by saying to the parents, don't park there, when they're trying to be on time. So it's an eternal dance, I think, that element of it working with our parents.
I think one of the magic words today is you're certainly concentrating on that lovely word respect. And if everybody does respect each other, then you do have a harmonious situation without causing too much strife. I think we've gone on quite long enough. I think I'll ask the master to wind us up.
Or just before you
ask two short questions.
Just one thing before you do that, Master. If I could possibly ask, I'm not sure who, is it you, Mr. Mohammed, but could I possibly have the financial information so I can transfer the money to you? Because that's
No,
really important.
I really didn't want to talk about such vulgar things.
Oh, no. I'm merely saying. I'm sorry. It's the practicality of life. I'm thrilled, as I'm sure the other trustees are, that normally the limit is £1,000, but I think we've granted you 1,398 because Nisha sent me a new list. So only too pleased to be sending the money. So if you could get one of your team to send me bank sorting code and account, that would be wonderful. Master, over to you.
Thank you.
Just a quick couple of questions. Do you have useful governors?
Yes, we do.
Good.
We have exceptional governors. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And the other thing I wanted to ask was the Gypsy Hill Federation. Is this any form of trust or sort of academy trust or anything like that? Or are you answerable? Are you working directly to Lambeth Council?
Yes, we've Catherine, did you want to answer that?
Oh, no, you can go ahead.
I think that we've weathered many a storm from government initiatives which have been designed to try and cause a schism between local communities and the local authority within which we work. And we position ourselves as being a local resource, a local school for local people who have at their disposal a local council who are answerable to the people. So we're very much a local council. We take our direction from government, but we're firmly rooted in our community and the various decision-making processes within it.
So you don't suffer from an interfering local council education department.
They're very supportive.
They're very supportive, aren't they, Catherine?
Yes, we have our school improvement officer who supports our school improvement partner officer who supports us from Lambeth. She is fantastic. She comes in, she looks at other schools, she gives us great feedback on what our next steps are. She's the same link for all of the Federation schools. So she really knows our schools really well. She knows our, she knows our communities well. She works really hard, and Mr. As Mr. T and Jeff, Mr. Mohammed works really hard with her as well to ensure that we can do the best that we can. So we are a Lambeth school. We are a government school, not a privatised or an academy trust school. But we are fortunate in that the support we get from Lambeth and from our school improvement. It's not a partner anymore, is it? Jeff, school improvement school. What's it called?
Really?
I forgot what the acronym means.
School improvement partner or advisor. Help yourself.
Advisor. Sorry. We are fortunate to have the ties and the links with Lambeth that we do. We benefit a lot from them.
That's wonderful to hear. Well, good. I think I'd better draw it to a close. Otherwise, people won't get their cup of tea, will they? That was a truly inspiring presentation. The Beatles got his already. A truly inspiring presentation. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed and Catherine and Nisha, so much for that brilliant presentation and for a wonderfully free and frank discussion of the school and your problems, which seem to be actually remarkably few, I have to say. Apart from the local fly population. I was immensely impressed particularly by the confident delivery of your year 6 students who really had their act together and knew what they were talking about. It was most impressive.
Yeah, I thought that.
You clearly are an enormously dedicated team, 150% dedicated to helping your people
it's frozen.
to gain a place in life, and it is really most impressive. And I hope that the limited amount that we're able to provide you with will help you in that regard to stimulate their interest and looking at things and mixing things and doing all the things that they want to do, apart from making too many explosions. And I hope it will be of use to you. And provided you give us your bank details, you might get the money, as Chairman Lee has already said. which I'm sure will happen. And please feel that this is just the beginning of a relationship. We want feedback. We want to keep in touch with you. We'd love to come and see you one day. I don't live many miles away on the Isle of Dogs in Tower Hamlets. And I must say, I was very interested to note the very different ethnic structure. White, British and African and West Indian feature strongly in your makeup, whereas in Tower Hamlets, of course, it's very largely Bengali. And it's interesting, however, quite small areas, you get this huge variation. Absolutely. And wherever you go, it's so impressive to see the efforts that are made to integrate these pupils, help them get into our culture, really learn our language and develop themselves and be useful citizens. So all in all, hugely impressive. Thank you so much. We wish you all the best of luck, and don't hesitate to badger Chairman Lee again if you want more money. He probably won't give it to you, but
we might sort of liaise with our other schools who you might possibly be hearing from, maybe in terms of applications for funding as well.
What a great idea! I'd be delighted. You know where I am.
Thank you.
Lee, you are warned.
Yeah.
No problem, Master. You know I love giving money away. We just got to make sure the likes of Ron and Paul and people like that raise us some more so we can carry on doing it. But anyway.
I did send you that, didn't I?
Did you? I haven't received it yet. It might be that it's down in the office and they haven't passed it on.
I haven't sent it to you hard copy. I sent it to you by email.
I haven't seen.
All right, I'll send it to you again. It's the living education document.
It's really good.
It tells you all the other liveries that give grants and what they're for, so that you can realise that the livery movement, as I've said to you before, is quite grand in the City of London. They do have a very big educational project going on at the moment, headed up at the City of London Corporation. And we're talking to them as well, so we're helping with the grander picture. Right. So on that note, I think
sadly we are but a small cog.
Yes.
I think yes, you're winding up. I wanted to wind up too and say thank you so much for an inspiring afternoon. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for the funding and for the positive feedback, and we look forward to a future relationship with you and with our other schools as well, hopefully.
Great.
Wonderful. Look forward to it.
Right, let's go and put the kettle on then.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Yet another very inspiring school.
Yeah.
It really makes you feel better, doesn't it, knowing that the world maybe has a chance when we're no longer around.
It was very good. They were very, very impressive.
They really were.
Okay.
And I was, and the
especially the older ones.
I do hope that wider members of the livery do actually access these recordings from time to time to see what we're doing.
Yes, we must encourage.
We have to encourage it if we can.
Yeah, indeed.
And
I know Paul does his best.
And we put them out on social media as well.
Yeah.
Do people look at them though?
Oh yes, we get people that are looking at them. It is quite productive. And in fact, Lee was talking to this woman who's head of this skills initiative with the city and Bamford, who was absolutely speechless on what we are doing and the reach that we're getting. Because of course they're so City of London concentrated that they don't realise that there are liveries that are reaching much further out.
We can't get a lot further than Cornwall, can we?
Well,
we're
going to try to Scotland.
Yeah, no, we're already on the case, as you
I know.
Indeed.
So yeah, it's things. Anyway, folks, kettle time, I think. So
indeed.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much as always for putting it all together.
Okay. Speak to you soon.